And we're going to hear reactions both from Lindsey Graham, the Pentagon, and we want to hear what the Democrats has to say about this as well. And if you don't know, I think everybody knows this by now. Because of this, what's going on with this war, gas prices are starting to go back up again. That's what's happening right now, Chad. You know, I know where I'm at, just because of after what happened with the strikes, gas prices went up 30 cents overnight. And we know, you know, Iran and all those countries, it has a lot to do with fuel. So, you know, I'm quite sure everybody's fuel is going up right about now. Let me know in the comment section, you know, if the gas prices, fuel prices are going up in your area, you know, which I pretty much think everybody's fuel is going up because of what's going on with this war that is escalating. You know, Iran, man, they're striking other countries. You know, it's starting to heat up, Chad. You know what I'm saying? That's what we got to understand. It's starting to heat up. You know, and everybody got their own opinion on what's going on here, but it's starting to heat up a little bit. Iran is not folding. They're not folding. They're fighting strong. You know, they attacked yesterday. They attacked U.S. consulate that's over there in Dubai. You know, that's what happened yesterday, and it's going down, man. And we're going to react to what Lindsey Graham has to say. Update. Okay, we're gonna go over there and get an update. Let me go over here. Let me put this back up. Yeah, we're gonna go over there and get an update, you know, about what's going on with Operation Fury. Okay, let me go. Do I want to go here? Yeah, this is where I'm at right now. So we're gonna get an update about what's going on with this Operation Epic Fury. So appreciate everybody for joining me. Had a little hiccup right there. I don't know why I keep tricking this, but you know, we're gonna get it together. I might have to move back over there in my other area. I haven't been there in a while because I kind of like where I'm at right now. It's kind of comfortable right here. You know, I kind of like this area right here, but we might have to just go back to the other area. We got 54 people in the building. Y'all do me a favor right now. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and hit the like button. Let's go. We finna go and play it right now so we can get this show to move.
Wait a second. This is the short person's view of the war. So the briefing was very informative. I feel like this administration has been as transparent as you possibly can be without compromising war plans. So I want to congratulate them in terms of keeping us informed. My takeaway, quite frankly, is the Iranians have a strategy of trying to create regional chaos to shut down airports, hit hotels, drive up economic cost to see if the region will break.
Thank you, Abbott. Call 3.
I've been on the phone all day with our Arab allies, and quite the opposite is unfolding. So I'm here to tell you the good news for me is I think the regional partners, the Arab partners, are going to be more involved, not less. They're not going to break. They're going to get in the fight in a more direct way. And Iran made a major miscalculation by attacking Kuwait and Qatar and Saudi Arabia. The countries now are more intent than ever to end the threat forever. So what I see in the coming days is more capability directed at the regime that's non-American. More planes flying that are non-Americans, more missile capability brought to the fight by our allies. So the ability to inflict harm on the regime is going to increase, not just because we're more committed to ending this, because we're going to have more partners to do that. Now, So what's the goal here? The goal is to make sure that when this is over, this regime cannot build ballistic missiles to hit America or terrorize the region. That when this conflict is over, they cannot continue to support Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis, the terrorist network, and they can never go back in the nuclear business. One of the things that really got President Trump going the most was after Midnight Hammer, we found that they were trying to regenerate their nuclear program. After basically months of negotiation, it was pretty clear that they're wedded to the capability they need to inflict terror, that the regime's goal is always to inflict terror and to push their religious agenda through force. And the missile buildup is designed to give them immunity in terms of developing their nuclear program. If we waited much longer, they're doing 100 a month. The idea of imminent threat to me is an odd thing. Who wants to let a homicidal maniac be able to get to the imminent stage of hurting you? If somebody is threatening my family, wants to rape your wife and burn down your house and kill your children, I don't want to wait till they get to the gun store and the gas station. Since 1979, this regime has been dedicated to chaos through their religious agenda. In 1983, 220 Marines were killed by Hezbollah in Lebanon, 18 sailors, 100 injured. Roadside bombs coming out of Iran have maimed and killed hundreds, if not thousands, of Americans. They mean it when they say death to America. I'm glad we didn't let it go further. I'm glad we didn't let them build more missiles. I'm glad we didn't let them regenerate after Midnight Hammer. So the idea that you're going to let a homicidal maniac get to the imminent stage, to me, is misplaced. So I've never felt better about how this ends. It's not if they fall, it's when they fall. It's not us alone, it's us with the region. Europe is now getting into the game. So I want to compliment President Trump for starting something that the world is now gravitating to. This regime is in its death throes. The amount of firepower coming in the next day or two from us is going to be overwhelming. And when you add to the mix the Arab capability, then it's going to be overwhelming. The demise of this regime is at hand. And the goal is to make sure they can never be a threat like they were before.
Senator, how do you know that the next regime that may come in may not be more hardline than the last regime?
I don't think 32,000 people went to their death to be hard-ass. That's really offensive to the people in the street, that they want a country that's more crazy. Why are they in the street? They don't like living under the Ayatollah. These people are not facing guns without arms because they like what's going on. To think that the protesters want more Ayatollah is really offensive to them. Here's what's going to happen.
Maybe they won't be able to
just wait a minute. The idea of the Ayatollah being our friend is zero. The Ayatollah the idea of the Ayatollah giving up his nuclear ambitions were zero. He's a religious fanatic. You could say that about Hitler. I bet somebody asked in 1935, what happened if we killed Hitler? God, I wish we'd have known. It will only get better. Now, what happens is up to the Iranian people, not me, not anybody here. They have a chance to take their country back if this regime falls, and I think they want it back in a different way. The idea that these people would want the same thing after sacrificing really is short-sighted. It's offensive to them. So to the world, to Europe, get behind the protesters. They're your best chance to have a stable Iran. They're not going to repeat the mistakes of the past, I don't believe. But if they do, we'll do what we did in the past. We'll deal with the threat. So the idea that you, like, taking Hitler out, if somebody asked that in 1935 and say, let's don't do it, boy, was that a big mistake. It would be a big mistake to let this regime continue to march toward a nuclear weapon, to build more missiles. So the regime is going to fall, and what follows will be up to the Iranian people, and I think it's going to be better. And the biggest prize of all is that when they fall, I talked to Saudi Arabia today. When this regime collapses, there will be a sprint toward normalization. Bibi said last night that he wants to work with Saudi Arabia to take up where they left off under President Biden, and I want to give them credit for trying to expand the Abraham Accords to Saudi Israel, which is the biggest prize of all. So this regime is going to collapse. It's not if, it's when. And when that happens, there'll be a gateway to peace that no one ever envisioned. So, President Trump, I'm glad you did it when you did it. If we waited much longer, we'd have a bigger threat on our hands, and we're on the verge of a new dawn.
Senator, is there a need at any point for Congress to take a vote or have any role here?
Absolutely. Here's what I think. Normalization will require Congress. MBS wants a treaty with the United States. Well, that requires 67 votes. There may be a supplemental coming. I think there will be a supplemental. We'll have to approve that. Now, let me tell you, I've been a military lawyer most of my adult life. The War Powers Act has been viewed as unconstitutional by every president, Republican, Democrat, since its passage. Why? Because it says after 60 days of combat operations, military operations, they must terminate unless Congress approves. You're shifting the power from a commander-in-chief to the Congress. If we don't like a military operation, we can cut off funding. But the War Powers Act is an unconstitutional shift of authority from the president, and it would create 535 commander-in-chiefs. It's going to fail tomorrow. Now, if you want to have a vote as to whether or not you approve this operation without a War Powers Act, that's fine with me. I don't mind people being on record as to whether or not they think this is a good idea. I do mind Congress becoming the commander-in-chief.
Senator, you were extremely critical after Benghazi, after the Afghanistan withdrawal. There are thousands of Americans stuck in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Do you think the administration is doing enough to make sure they get
Yes, Marco's doing a good job. Here's who you contact to get out. We're trying to send flights in. You pay now or you pay later. If they get a nuclear weapon, they would use it. They keep trying no matter what we do. Why? Because they want a nuclear weapon to enact their agenda. They want to purify Islam. They want to destroy Saudi Arabian Sunni Islam and then replace it with Shia Islam. That's what they say, not what I say. They have been building ballistic missiles at a rate that is just stunning. They've killed 32,000 plus of their people who've been protesting, and they support Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. One thing to President Trump, in case you're watching. In 1983, Ronald Reagan sent Marines and sailors to try to police and deal with the Lebanese civil war. They were at the end of the runway. Hezbollah attacked the Marine barracks, killed 220 Marines, 18 sailors, and wounded 100 others. Ronald Reagan, who I admire and love, withdrew and never did anything about it. So I'm calling on President Trump today. Join Israel to attack Hezbollah. Avenge the Marines. America never forgets. Those 220 Marines and 18 sailors' families, we want to go after the infrastructure that killed your loved ones. There are IRGC assets in Beirut as I speak. President Trump, come up with a new operation called Simplify. Fly with Israel and go after Hezbollah, who has American blood on its hands. Not only take the mothership of Iran down, also take the proxy of Hezbollah, settle the score, even the account.
Senator, what is your best assessment of what the timeline looks like now?
I feel that's a good question.
And then also, how are we not going to be drawn into a larger ground operation?
There is no reason right now to use troops, but if we need them, the goal is victory. Listen to this. Donald Trump is seeking victory against the Iranian regime. Who's going to win a war between the Iranian regime and the United States? We are. We're going to win this conflict. We have Arab partners today that we didn't have yesterday. So this is going to end with us winning and the Ayatollah's regime going down. What happens next is up to the Iranian people. So what I would tell the American people, pull for victory. Hope that this works well. Pull for the idea that the Iranian people can live without the Ayatollah, that they can be a new Iran emerges from the ashes of this regime. It would be a good thing for the world. At the end of the day, the region is committed to seeing it through. Iran is trying to break their will. It has backfired. So the timetable has shifted. I think the demise of the regime is far more likely to come quicker today than it was yesterday.
All right, I wanted to bring you those remarks there from Senator Lindsey Graham as he was commenting just yesterday. All of that, of course, related to the situation with the briefing
unmistakable message about Operation Epic Fury. America is winning, decisively, devastatingly, and without mercy. Under the direct command of President Trump, the War Department unleashed this operation early Saturday morning, just 4 days ago, which means we need to remember two things. First, we are only 4 days into this. Metrics are shifting, dust is settling, and more forces are arriving. It's very early. And as President Trump has said, we will take all the time we need to make sure that we succeed. Second, we are only 4 days into this, and the results have been incredible. Historic, really. Only the United States of America could lead this, only us. But when you add the Israeli Defense Forces, a devastatingly capable force, the combination is sheer destruction for our radical Islamist Iranian adversaries. They are toast, and they know it. Or at least, soon enough, they will know it. And we have only just begun to hunt, dismantle, demoralize, destroy, and defeat their capabilities, just 4 days in. Starting last night and to be completed in a few days, in under a week, the two most powerful air forces in the world will have complete control of Iranian skies, uncontested airspace. I hope all the folks watching understand what uncontested airspace and complete control means. It means we will fly all day, all night, day and night, finding, fixing, and finishing the missiles and defense industrial base of the Iranian military, finding and fixing their leaders and their military leaders, flying over Tehran, flying over Iran, flying over their capital, flying over the IRGC, Iranian leaders looking up and seeing only U.S. and Israeli air power every minute of every day until we decide it's over. And Iran will be able to do nothing about it. B-2s, B-52s, B-1s, Predator drones, fighters, controlling the skies, picking targets. Death and destruction from the sky all day long. We're playing for keeps. Our warfighters have maximum authorities granted personally by the president and yours truly. Our rules of engagement are bold, precise, and designed to unleash American power, not shackle it. This was never meant to be a fair fight, and it is not a fair fight. We are punching them while they're down, which is exactly how it should be. Thus far, Operation Epic Fury has delivered twice the air power of shock and awe of Iraq in 2003, minus Paul Bremer and the nation building. The campaign has 7 times the intensity of Israel's previous operations against Iran during the 12-day war, 7 times. And as President Trump said, more and larger waves are coming. We are just getting started. We are accelerating, not decelerating. Iran's capabilities are evaporating by the hour, while American strength grows fiercer, smarter, and utterly dominant. More bombers and more fighters are arriving just today. And now, with complete control of the skies, we will be using 500-pound, 1,000-pound, and 2,000-pound GPS and laser-guided precision gravity bombs, of which we have a nearly unlimited stockpile. We used more exquisite standoff munitions at the start, but no longer need to. Our stockpiles of those, as well as Patriots, remains extremely strong. The enemy can no longer shoot the volume of missiles they once did, not even close. And the chairman will lay out some of those percentages. So our air defenses and that of our allies have plenty of runway. We can sustain this fight easily for as long as we need to. And as I said yesterday, we set the terms. Now, you may not see much of it because the IRGC shut off the internet to the entirety of the country. They blind their people on purpose, just like they kill their own on purpose. Much was made of the volume of missiles Iran was able to shoot in the first few days. And sadly, as we projected, a few got through and killed 6 of our best, who will hopefully arrive home soon. We will avenge them, no doubt. But I liken Iran's predicament to a football team who scripted the first 20 plays of a game. The team knew what plays to run because their first few drives were scripted. But now that the game has started and the blitz is on, they don't know what play. Looks like POTUS got him twice. Their Navy, not a factor. Pick your adjective, it is no more. In fact, yesterday, in the Indian Ocean, and we'll play it on the screen there, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win. Also, yesterday, the leader of the unit who attempted to assassinate President Trump has been hunted down and killed. Iran tried to kill President Trump, and President Trump got the last laugh. Now, this is not a mission accomplished situation. This is simply a reality check. The combination of U.S. and Israeli intelligence and combat power will control Iran, and will control it soon. Sure, Iran will still be able to shoot some missiles, and still be able to launch one-way attack drones at civilian targets. And their proxies will attempt to attack our embassies, bases, and soft targets. They are terrorists, after all, and they need to target civilians because they can't fight toe-to-toe. But we will find them, and we will kill them. This is what the fake news misses. We've taken control of Iran's airspace and waterways without boots on the ground. We control their fate. But when a few drones get through or tragic things happen, it's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad, but try for once to report the reality. The terms of this war will be set by us at every step. As I said Monday, the mission is laser focused. Obliterate Iran's missiles and drones and facilities that produce them, annihilate its navy and critical security infrastructure, and sever their pathway to nuclear weapons. Iran will never possess a nuclear bomb, not on our watch, not ever. And this is why President Trump's moral clarity on Iran today is so vital. Unlike the past, where vague red lines and endless negotiations let Iran fund terror and inch ever so slightly toward a bomb, this president sees the threat plainly and acts decisively. No more half measures, especially when Iran is at its weakest. No more letting Tehran play for time while our people pay the price. His leadership ensures that we finish what we start and that we protect our warfighters by crushing the enemy before they can strike again. Our offensive operations, refined through months of relentless preparation, are unstoppable. And our defensive efforts are unprecedented. We have from the start put the protection of our troops ahead of everything else. Before we very publicly built up offensive combat power, we quietly ensured that our defensive posture and power was in place. And as we built up offensive combat power, we moved the vast majority of American troops, over 90% of Americans that were on our bases, what we say off the X, out of the range of Iranian fire. Our defensive shield is equally formidable, the most sophisticated air and missile defense network ever fielded. Thousands of Iranian missiles and drones have been intercepted and vaporized. Tens of thousands of American and allied lives protected. We have pushed every counter-UAS system possible forward, sparing no expense or capability. And like I said, this does not mean we can stop everything, but we ensured that the maximum possible defense and maximum possible force protection was set up before we went on offense. In closing, as President Trump told German Chancellor Merz yesterday, Iran negotiated in bad faith, stalling, scheming, and preparing to strike. And we acted decisively to defend our people, our interests, and our allies. President Trump took bold action, putting America first, the kind of bold action that the American people elected him to execute. To our steadfast partner, Israel, your mission is being executed with unmatched skill and iron determination. Fighting shoulder to shoulder with such a capable ally is a true force multiplier and a breath of fresh air. We salute your courage and your contribution. 4 days in, we have only just begun to fight. America fights to win, and in Operation Epic Fury, we are. May God's providence cover and protect our troops always. And with that, I turn it over to the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm here today to provide the American people and those of you in this room an update on Operation Epic Fury. First, it's with profound sadness and gratitude that I share the names of 4 of our 6 fallen heroes, all from the 103rd Sustainment Command, U.S. Army Reserves out of Des Moines, Iowa. Captain Cody Cork, Sergeant First Class Noah Tegens, Sergeant First Class Nicole Amore, and Sergeant Declan Cody. To the families of our fallen, we grieve with you today, and we look forward to welcoming your family members home at Dover in the coming days. Out of respect for the other families, we'll withhold the release of their names until next of kin notification is complete. And either myself or Admiral Cooper will release those names as soon as we can ensure that all of those families have been properly notified. To our Gold Star families, to our wounded warriors and their loved ones, we will never forget your sacrifice. Our nation stands with you, and we are eternally grateful for your courage, your resiliency, your devotion to this mission and to our nation. As the Secretary said, we're 4 days in, 103 hours into this campaign. The operation was again launched with clear military objectives designed to dismantle Iran's ability to project power.
What's up, chat, at this time? How y'all doing this morning, chat? How y'all doing? I hope y'all having a great morning. I hope everything's going well with you and your family. Shout out to everybody in the military. We love and we appreciate the military. There's a lot going on this morning, chat, as you can tell, as we continue with this stream, we continue watching what's going on. It's getting heated out there. It's getting heated, you know, and we have different mixed emotions. We got 420 votes. Do you think Iran would use nuke on America? 53% says yes. 47% says no. We have 1,000 vote goal, chat. We want to get to 1,000 votes. Please do us a huge favor and go vote. Also, after you vote, subscribe to the channel and cut on all notifications so you'll know when we go live. This is the Freedom of Speech channel, and I am your host, the one and only Stock Sniper. I just want to thank everybody for coming and rocking with us this morning. You could do anything. You could be in anybody's chat on YouTube, but you choose to come over here and rock with us, and we love and we appreciate y'all as we react to what's going on in America and around the world. Let's go, chat. Let's go on and restart this. Let's get this going so we can hear what the Department of War is going to tell us about what's going on.
Power outside of its borders, both today and in the future. First, we are targeting and eliminating Iran's ballistic missile systems to prevent them from threatening the U.S. Forces, partners, and interests in the region. Second, we are destroying the Iranian Navy, degrading its capacity, capability, and ability to conduct operations, not just in the Central Command AOR, but as the Secretary showed in the video, around the world. Third, we're ensuring Iran cannot rapidly rebuild or reconstitute its combat capability or combat power, and those phases will begin as the campaign continues. As of this morning, U.S. Central Command is making steady progress. Iran's theater ballistic missile shots fired are down 86% from the first day of fighting, with a 23% decrease just in the last 24 hours. And their one-way attack drone shots are down 73% from the opening days. This progress has allowed CENTCOM to establish localized air superiority across the southern flank of the Iranian coast and penetrate their defenses with overwhelming precision and firepower. We will now begin to expand inland, striking progressively deeper into Iranian territory and creating additional freedom of maneuver for U.S. forces. Let me explain a little bit about how we're thinking about staying ahead of the enemy. First, over the past several weeks, Admiral Cooper and the CENTCOM team have refined their operational approach to the region. Their planners identified key centers of gravity that would allow Iran to project power outside of its borders. They thought about how to isolate critical vulnerabilities and determined where, with precision, the greatest strategic effect could be achieved. As a result of this, CENTCOM is now shifting in day 4 already from large, deliberate strike packages using standoff munitions at range outside an enemy's ability to shoot at us, now into stand-in precision strikes overhead Iran. As the Secretary said, this is a point of munitions transition from standoff munitions to stand-in munitions like joint direct attack munitions, which are GPS-aided free-fall weapons, and other things like Hellfires, etc. This will allow the joint force to deliver significantly increased precision effects on the target. The throttle is coming up, as the Secretary said, as opposed to ramping down. This will allow us to maintain consistent pressure on the adversary over the coming days, disrupt their launch timelines, and impose cost every day around the clock. I know there have been a lot of questions about munitions. We have sufficient precision munitions for the task at hand, both on the offense and defense. But I want to tell you, teammates, as a matter of practice, I don't want to be talking about quantities. And I know there's been a great debate about that, and I appreciate the interest, but just know that we consider that an operational security matter. Let me flip to the map here. Hopefully I don't kill anybody with a laser pointer. As I mentioned earlier, and for you with the camera right there, my friend, I hope I don't ricochet off and hurt you. Over the initial days, the U.S. Joint Forces continued to attack and attrit ballistic missile capabilities as well as integrated air defense capabilities along the southern axis. Along the northern axis, Israel and the Israeli Air Force has predominantly been working integrated air defense targets along the northern flank, as well as medium-range ballistic missile capability as well. From the sea, the USS Ford has continued to project combat power here, as well as the bomber pulses that we talked about in the opening days of this briefing. Along the southern axis, the USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group has continued to provide pressure from the sea along the southeastern side of the coast and has been attriting naval capability all along the strait and up into the Arabian Gulf at a size and scale sufficiently to address the targets required. To date, we've hit over 2,000 targets, as Admiral Cooper said in his video last night. We've destroyed more than 20 Iranian naval vessels, including, in addition to the frigate outside of the area, one submarine, and effectively neutralized at this point in time Iran's major naval presence in theater out there. As the Secretary showed the video, for the first time since 1945, a United States Navy fast attack submarine has sunk an enemy combatant ship using a single Mark 48 torpedo to achieve immediate effect, sending the warship. That this is an incredible demonstration of America's global reach. To hunt, find, and kill an out-of-area deployer is something that only the United States can do at this type of scale. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, CENTCOM will continue to strike infrastructure and naval capability, and we'll continue to assess our progress against the military objectives. It does take time for us to collect that information and to assess en route. Much of our intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capability is currently hunting and killing ballistic missile launchers and one-way attack capability. We're precise in that assessment, and we call balls and strikes in that assessment. We take that matter seriously. Iran, on the other hand, has been indiscriminate and more imprecise in their attacks. They fired more than 500 ballistic missiles and more than
Wait, what happened? Hold on, chat. Something going on. Appreciate y'all for joining me, chat. Hit the like button at this time while I see what the hiccup is. And subscribe to the channel. And let me see. Ronald, you say you got a story to tell. Tell us a little bit about it. Tell us a little bit about it. Maybe I'll pull you up. Maybe I'll let you call in and tell us your story. Depending on what you say in the chat, I might pull you up while we see what's going on over here. So what's up, chat? What y'all think about this so far? Let me see. It might be a little pause, chat, but don't worry. We will resume. We will resume. Hold on a second.
Have refined their operational approach to the region. Their planners identified key centers of gravity that would allow Iran to project power outside of its borders. They thought about how to isolate critical vulnerabilities and determined where, with precision, the greatest strategic effect could be achieved. As a result of this, CENTCOM is now shifting in day 4 already from large deliberate strike packages using standoff munitions at range outside an enemy's ability to shoot at us, now into stand-in precision strikes overhead Iran. As the Secretary said, this is a point of munitions transition from standoff munitions to stand-in munitions like Joint Direct Attack munitions, which are GPS-aided free-fall weapons, and other things like Hellfires, etc. This will allow the joint force to deliver significantly increased precision effects on the target. The throttle is coming up, as the Secretary said, as opposed to ramping down. This will allow us to maintain consistent pressure on the adversary over the coming days, disrupt their launch timelines, and impose cost every day around the clock. I know there have been a lot of questions about munitions. We have sufficient precision munitions for the task at hand, both on the offense and defense. But I want to tell you, teammates, as a matter of practice, I don't want to be talking about quantities. And I know there's been a great debate about that, and I appreciate the interest, but just know that we consider that an operational security matter. Let me flip to the map here. Hopefully I don't kill anybody with a laser pointer. As I mentioned earlier, and for you with the camera right there, my friend, I hope I don't ricochet off and hurt you. Over the initial days, the U.S. Joint Forces
we was a little bit past
this
chat, but we're just going to leave it right here.
Ballistic missile capabilities as well as integrated air defense capabilities along the southern axis. Along the northern axis, Israel and the Israeli Air Force has predominantly been working integrated air defense targets along the northern flank, as well as medium-range ballistic missile capability as well. From the sea, the USS Ford has continued to project combat power here, as well as the bomber pulses that we talked about in the opening days of this briefing. Along the southern axis, the USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group has continued to provide pressure from the sea along the southeastern side of the coast and has been attriting naval capability all along the strait and up into the Arabian Gulf at a size and scale sufficiently to address the targets required. To date, we've hit over 2,000 targets, as Admiral Cooper said in his video last night. We've destroyed more than 20 Iranian naval vessels, including, in addition to the frigate outside of the area, one submarine, and effectively neutralized at this point in time Iran's major naval presence in theater out there. As the Secretary showed the video, for the first time since 1945, a United States Navy fast attack submarine has sunk an enemy combatant ship using a single Mark 48 torpedo to achieve immediate effect, sending the warship to the bottom of the sea. I want to remind everybody that this is an incredible demonstration of America's global reach. To hunt, find, and kill an out-of-area deployer is something that only the United States can do at this type of scale. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, CENTCOM will continue to strike infrastructure and naval capability, and will continue to assess our progress against the military objectives. It does take time for us to collect that information and to assess en route. Much of our intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capability is currently hunting and killing ballistic missile launchers and one-way attack capability. We're precise in that assessment, and we call balls and strikes in that assessment. We take that matter seriously. Iran, on the other hand, has been indiscriminate and more imprecise in their attacks. They fired more than 500 ballistic missiles and more than 2,000 drones, striking innocent civilian targets throughout the region. Our partners are answering the call to defend themselves right alongside us. Jordan, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, and Kuwait are all defending their people with their own combat capability, with precision and restraint. Jordanian air defense crews recently intercepted a cluster of Iranian one-way attack drones headed to Amman. Bahrain's air defense forces shot down an inbound drone approaching Manama's maritime infrastructure, protecting both their population and critical shipping lanes. Saudi Patriot batteries stopped a salvo of ballistic missiles aimed at energy facilities near Dhahran. The UAE neutralized multiple drones targeting Abu Dhabi's industrial zone, demonstrating speed and precision. And Qatari fighters for the first time have shot down 2 Iranian bombers that were en route to their location. Together, these nations are helping to defend themselves and project power as required against the enemy. We're 100 hours in. It's still very early, as the Secretary said, but the balance is shifting. We've always got to remember that these operations are complex, dangerous, and far from over. Our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Guardians, and Coast Guardsmen remain in harm's way, and we must be clear-eyed that the risk is still high. This is combat. Let us never forget this. As we continue, I ask that we hold all of our deployed teammates in our thoughts, those standing the watch, flying the sorties, sustaining the fight, and carrying our nation's burden. And I'll stop where I started, and that's remembering our 6 fallen who will return home as soon as possible. I remain humbled, grateful, inspired by every day the valor and professionalism of our joint force. They are quiet professionals through and through, out there doing America's work through the day and through the darkness. And with that, I'll take your questions along with the Secretary.
Go ahead.
What do you assess the enemy's control and command status is right now? And can you broadly describe our decisive point in this operation?
Well, I won't describe the decisive point in the operation because that would tell the bad guys what it was.
That's a good question, though.
I appreciate the question. There are C2 structures in a bad way. Admiral Cooper's been continuing to pressure C2 at the IRGC C2 and other military elements, and will continue to do so. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. Mary Margaret with the Daily Wire. Couple questions for you and then one for General Kane. Can you tell us more about how we took out the leader who was the leader of the group that was trying to assassinate President Trump? And then Turkey's defense ministry says NATO air defense systems intercepted an Iranian ballistic missile headed towards Turkish airspace. Could this trigger NATO's Article 5, and was it the U.S. who shot it down?
On the first question, we've known for a long time that Iran had intentions on trying to kill President Trump and or other U.S. officials. And while that was not the focus of the effort by any stretch of the imagination, in fact, never raised by the president or anybody else, I ensured and others ensured that those who were responsible for that were eventually part of the target list. It wasn't the beginning of the effort. We were focused on missiles and launchers, and that's the focus. But ultimately, if we had the opportunity to get at those who are trying to get at Americans specifically, we would. And so we eventually had the opportunity to do that from the air. And then on the matter with Turkey, I'll have to get back to you on exactly what the intercept looked like at that. We're aware of that particular engagement, although no sense that it would trigger anything like Article 5. No. Ty.
Was an Iranian leader behind the attempt to assassinate President Trump?
Can you give us an update on what the administration knows, what you know now about the reported strike on a girls' school in southern Iran on Saturday?
All I can say is that we're investigating that. We, of course, never target civilian targets, but we're taking a look and investigating that. Red tie in front.
Just on the basis that with the information you would have, your reconnaissance abilities, ability to gather information, I mean, it's several days on now. So is there any clarity on whose munition this was?
We're investigating it. Thank you.
Secretary, so there are reports that the administration is considering arming Iranian Kurdish groups. So could you please clarify that whether any such plan has been authorized and whether Congress or regional partners has been notified and consulted?
All I would say is none of our objectives are premised on the support or the arming of any particular force. So what other entities may be doing, we're aware of, but our objectives aren't centered on that. Green, right there.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mike Lynn, Washington Times. Can you talk a little bit about the deconfliction process that's going on? You have two parallel operations, Epic Fury and Roaring Lion. How are you making sure they're not interfering with each other?
Sure, I'm happy to take that. Thank you for the question. We have liaison officers on both sides. There are U.S. CENTCOM teammates out in Israel, and there are Israeli Defense Force teammates at the relevant command and control nodes within the U.S. CENTCOM enterprise. Routinely, Admiral Cooper is talking to the IDF Chief of Defense, and I will occasionally speak to him through the arc of this. I've spoken to him a few times already. That allows us to coordinate, integrate, and synchronize.
You gotta go to the doctor.
Maintaining separate efforts.
And when I said a breath of fresh air, I really meant it. Usually, it's us with some ancillary benefits from allies who are maybe willing but not as capable. When you have both the will and the capability of an ally that can really bring things to bear, we take certain targets, they take certain targets, and when you coordinate it, it has incredible effects. Right here.
Secretary Hegseth, with respect to House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries' statement that the Iran mission will end in failure, what kind of message does that send to our enemies, and what does it do to the motivation of our troops?
Well, I've been through that movie before with the Democrats rooting against the country. Our generation saw that in our battlefields. I think it's pretty unprecedented and unfortunate that it would occur 4 days in to an operation where, as the chairman laid out, America's best are operating in an incredibly challenging environment where they're having incredible success, but they're meeting a determined adversary. And he's been privy to briefs that we've provided. He knows how effective this has been. He's being disingenuous, which we're used to. Right here.
Thank you for taking my question. Heather Mullins, Lindell TV. One of the questions I have is just really regarding the intelligence that indicated that this was something the U.S. had to get involved with at the time that you guys did. We had Operation Midnight Hammer back in June. We obliterated their nuclear facilities. What was the intelligence that suggested that somehow they became a threat once again that required us to get involved with Operation Epic Fury?
I appreciate the question. The evidence in front of us since the 12-day war was that Iran had no intention of actually negotiating a nuclear deal that truly meant they did not have a pathway to the nuclear bomb. And they had a moment. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, two of the best negotiators in the world, poured into that negotiation, giving them every single possible opportunity to release that ambition, and they didn't. And the intelligence that we saw they didn't intend to do it in good faith, that they had the intentions eventually to get to a place where they could have a conventional shield to block their nuclear capabilities, as I talked about yesterday. So I would separate the what from the when a little bit. The what is they've been killing Americans for 47 years. They have thousands of missiles pointed at us. They have ongoing nuclear ambitions, and they're at the weakest they've ever been. So the when became, in a particular, hey, what makes the most sense to do this to ensure that the narrow objectives we have of ensuring they never have a nuclear weapon have a maximum effect? Yes, right here.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. I had two questions. First, what is your message to Iran's allies, namely Russia and China, who have called for an immediate end to hostilities?
I don't have a message for them, and they're not really a factor here. And our issue is not with them, it's with the nuclear ambitions of Iran.
Absolutely. And are any so-called fully autonomous weapons or other AI tools being used in Operation Epic Fury?
We've got a lot of autonomous systems, or systems that drones and others incorporated with smart AI aspects to them, but a lot of which I can't talk about here. Yeah. Yellow, right there. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. As you know, China is accusing the United States of invading in Iran, a sovereign nation, and North Korea, which cooperate with Iran on nuclear development, has declared its commitment to protecting Iran. What is the United States' strategic response to this? And I have a second one. How many allies join with the United States to fighting against Iran? Do you have any numbers?
Well, I think what you're seeing right now is a response in the region to the belligerence of Iran and the willingness of them to target civilian airports, civilian hotels, civilian locations, civilian oil infrastructure of their Gulf neighbors who would have preferred not to be in conflict, didn't want to, but now realize that this is something that has to be dealt with. So whether it's UAE or Qatar or Bahrain or Kuwait or Saudi, on different levels, they're reaching out to us, whether they're going on offense, which they are, whether they're giving us additional access basing and overflight. We're working very closely and collaborating with them. Also on air defenses. The air defense capabilities of those countries are significant, and when combined with ours and we coordinate, it brings simplicity to the shot doctrine, so we make sure we're using less munitions but being more effective with what we shoot at. And as it pertains to other countries, I'll sort of give the same question. They don't really bear on the case of Iran. We're going to deal with Iran's nuclear ambitions, and that'll send plenty of signals in the process. Right there. Purple.
Are you going to help get Americans out of the region? Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary. I have two questions. One question for you and the other question for Mr. Chairman. You ruled out that you are not engaging with the Kurdish forces, Iranian Kurdish forces, to incursion from the Kurdistan region to Iran. But now, and today, Iranian said that under threat in the Kurdistan region, they said clearly if there is any incursion from the Kurdistan region, they will attack all the Kurdistan region and go war with the Kurdistan region. What's your comment on that? And a question for Mr. Chairman, given comments that the U.S. forces might be deployed if necessary, under what specific conditions would you determine that deploying U.S. boots on the ground is necessary, and how would such a decision support and advance your stated strategic goals?
Well, I'm not going to comment on U.S. boots on the ground. I think that's a question for policymakers, and I don't make policy. I execute policy. I will say on the question in the back corner about helping Americans get out, first, it's a great opportunity to encourage everybody in the region to go to the State Department and register. Secretary Rubio's been trying to get that word out, and I'd ask you to help us with that, to have folks register. We've also opened up space available seats as C-17s and other airplanes come in to try to help folks get out. But that's really a State Department matter. But to answer your question, that's what we've been doing.
Absolutely. Last question right here.
Secretary Hegseth, thank you. Reagan Reese with the Daily Caller. You touched on this in your opening remarks, but I'm hoping you could expand on it a bit. It's been reported that Iran might be trying to outlast our ability to intercept their missiles. It sounds like you guys are saying they don't have the ability to do so. Is that the case? Can they outlast us in their ability to do that?
Iran cannot outlast us. We're going to ensure through violence of action and our offensive capabilities and our defensive capabilities, as I said, that we set the tone and the tempo of this fight. That's why stories and speculation about different things that try to make it look like we're limited in what we can do. The only limits we have in this is President Trump's desire to achieve specific effects on behalf of the American people. And that's why we don't talk about, you can say 4 weeks, but it could be 6, it could be 8, it could be 3. Ultimately, we set the pace and the tempo. The enemy is off balance, and we're going to keep them off balance. And we know their ability to shoot versus our ability to defend. That difference gets wider and wider every day. Our defense gets better, their offense capabilities diminish. As we are going into ammunitions that we, as we said, have tens of thousands of and can drop unlimited supplies on with even more effects than the standoff munitions we have now, which is why when we say the throttle's going up, the throttle's going up and it's going to stay on high. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Hey, what's up, chat? What's up, chat? How y'all doing? Appreciate y'all for joining. We got 260 people in the building. As we continue with the stream, we're going to go over here. Waltz is getting drilled about the fraud they've been accusing him of. So we're going to go over there to that and continue to watch that. But at this time, subscribe to the channel, hit on the notification bell as we switch gears. We just got an update of what's going on with Iran and the war. And it was interesting things they commented on. And I think that it's going to get worse. I think it's going to escalate. And I appreciate everybody for voting. The vote is, do you think Iran would have used nukes on America? We got, almost 800 votes. 55% of the people said yes. And for the people that, you got to understand that Iran been making these nuclear weapons and planning on making these weapons for decades. We got to understand that. That's been going on for decades. So according to the intelligence of the American intelligence, that they are really, 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 really close to completing that program. That does not mean that they were going to strike nukes today or tomorrow, but it's, they think about the future, chat. They think about 30 years down the line, 20 years down the line. And, Iran has been working on this for decades. If you are older, if you're an older person in the chat, you already know that. They've been working on this for decades. So we got to understand that. We got over 800 votes. Thank everybody for voting. And 55% of the people says yes. 45% of the people says no. So we're going to continue. I thank each and every one of y'all for joining. We got 280 people in the building with 81 likes, a whole lot of comments, a whole lot of different perspectives. And that's why this chat, I love this chat, and I love the people that come over here and rock with us, because this is the Freedom of Speech channel. And we learn a lot, and we get a lot of information as we watch this and react and give our own opinions in real time. So we're going to switch over here and go to where Governor Waltz has been testifying. Let's go, chat. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and cut on your notification bell so you'll be notified whenever we go live. And yes, this is the Freedom of Speech channel, and I am your host, the one and only Stock Sniper.
Their health care, premiums, and groceries. The Trump administration should be strengthening the social safety net, not cutting the safeguards that catch the fraudsters taking advantage of it. And I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. I'll now recognize myself for 5 minutes. Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison, my questions are going to be simple and direct. Governor Walz, you were inaugurated as governor on January 17, 2019, and have served in that role through 2 terms ever since, correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
During the time period 2019 and 2020, while you were serving as governor, isn't it true that state auditors and officials raised concerns about fraud and vulnerabilities in programs overseen by your administration?
I can't confirm that, but I'm assuming we have always ongoing OLA.
I'll take that as a yes. Those warnings were communicated to senior officials in your administration, including yourself, correct?
I can't speak if it was directly.
I think the correct answer to that would also be yes. Despite those warnings, you did not order a broad stop payment or suspension of payment in any program at that time, correct?
We're not going to stop payments of Feed Children until we have the proof that things happen. In 2019, we did start taking action. I went to the legislature.
Okay, Governor Walz, when fraud concerns were raised early in your tenure in the Child Care Assistance Program, did your administration stop payments at that time?
The Child Care Assistance Program and
the answer is no. When fraud concerns were raised...
Would you like me to answer or not, Chairman?
Well, it's yes or no.
I want you to help.
You've already answered the question. You said you didn't ever stop payments, and that's what the problem is, and that's what the Democrats are complaining about. Oh, my gosh, Trump stopped payments. Well, my God, you lost billions to fraud in Minnesota. That's what this hearing's about.
Mr. Chairman,
you didn't stop payments because you didn't want to rock the boat. And when fraud concerns were raised...
Chairman.
When fraud concerns were raised in Medicaid, home and community-based services, did your administration stop payments? No, you did not. When fraud concerns were raised in non-emergency medical transportation, did your administration stop payments?
Unsupervised too. I appreciate your comment, bro. People need to understand that people can have a political YouTube stream, no knowledge in that field. They do it because it's controversial and algorithm loves it. Unsupervised too. I understand that you got a right to your opinion. This is the Freedom of Speech channel, but what you got to understand is that some people like me been doing this before the internet. This is what I do in real life. I love politics. It's good to know politics because it has a lot to do with the economy. It has a lot to do what's going on in your city, your state, your country. I have been following this. I have been watching this for a very long time. They do have history class in school, right? So, and social studies in school. So, I mean, I do this in real life. I keep up with all this in real life. I'm a real voter. I vote. You know, so what you got to understand is that the internet gives us the ability to connect with other people, other like-minded people around the world. That's what you got to understand. So, but I respect your opinion. And there's nothing wrong with somebody coming on the internet, connecting with like-minded people. We all are interested in what's going on. We all interested in what, it ain't just about politics. We all interested in the same things, you know, and you got to understand that, you know, but it is a blessing to be able to come on the internet, connect with like-minded people, you know, and that's a blessing that the things that I am interested in and that I do on a normal basis, that this is my life, that I could come on here and be me. This is me. This is who I am. Unusual, what's your name? Unsupervised too. This is who I am. That's what you got to understand. You know, I don't do this just for the algorithm, because I've been doing this before there was an algorithm. I'm 50 years old, sir. I've been doing this. If it was no internet, if it was no algorithm, as they call it, I would still be doing this. That's what you got to understand. Some people do things just for YouTube and just for the algorithm, as you say. There are also people that really do this in real life, just so happen to come onto the internet, and because they understand that there's a lot of people around the world that we have the same things in common. That's what you got to understand. Unsupervised too, but I appreciate your comment. I appreciate you for coming through. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and cut on all notification bells.
Chairman, if I could mention what a stop payment meant by what the administration did last week is 400,000 children without health care. Are you stopping payment if one person?
We believe that's your fault and the Attorney General's fault, because you do nothing about fraud, even though everyone in America sees
our Medicare error rate is lower than your state.
Fraud. You have been defrauded. You have not been good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. And the Democrat position is, well, keep the money flowing. The American taxpayers have had enough.
I think that's a fair characterization.
They want their taxpayer dollars spent wisely. We all support social programs.
That's not a fair
to the
characterization.
But if you're going to waste the money to fraudsters, then we have to stop and recalculate.
We're not. We're putting them in jail when we can, Chairman. And some of these programs are crafted in such a way that there's a procedure to follow. And I'm with you. $1 is too much. I don't think there's a lot of difference here if you want to help us get at this. The question is it a sledgehammer? Is it a scalpel? I understand there's no political upside to it.
Let's get into what we've talked. You eventually did pause payments in certain programs, but that wasn't until late 2025 after the federal government stepped in. Is that correct?
I don't think that's a fair characterization of stepped in. We've been partners in this and working on them. But
let's move on. And that decision occurred only after large-scale fraud had already taken place for years. Now, Governor Walz, employees inside state agencies raised concerns about fraud.
Unsupervised. This channel is about crypto. It's about the stock market. I talk about the stock market every single day. It's about health and wellness. It's about what's going on in America. It's about what's going on in the world. It's about sports, because I do sports on here. This channel is about what I do. This channel is about me. You got to understand that. This channel is about me, sir. So you got to understand that evidently you haven't been on this channel. You haven't. I talk about the stock market every single day. Every day. This is what I do in real life. I'm trading stocks right now as we speak. I'm just not talking. I'm just not showing it, because two things can be true at the same time. And that's what you got to understand. But I appreciate you making your comment. But you got to worry about your lane. Worry about what you're doing. You can't worry about what somebody else is doing. Please understand that. Unsupervised. You got to stay in your own lane and mind your own business. This right here is our lane. You got to understand that.
And improper payments for years. Is that correct?
Inside agencies, we've been prosecuting them for years. Yes.
But they have raised concern. Agencies have raised concern about fraud in Minnesota, correct?
Each of those, yes, when they do, and they're prosecuted.
Some
yes.
of those employees faced retaliation after raising those concerns. Is that correct?
That is not correct, Chairman.
Okay.
Minnesota has strong whistleblower protections.
Attorney General Ellison, you are the chief legal officer of the state of Minnesota, correct?
Yes.
Your office advises agencies on compliance with federal and state law, correct?
Yes.
Retaliation against whistleblowers reporting fraud is unlawful, correct?
That is right.
At any point during your tenure, did you tell state agencies to stop payments due to credible fraud allegations, yes or no?
Sir, we prosecuted over 300 people in the Medicaid fraud area.
300, I would predict is a drop in the bucket, but you've never said to stop payments. That's
it's one of the highest rates in the country, sir.
Well, you have one of the highest fraud rates in the country in Minnesota.
That's not true. And my office doesn't have the authority to do a stop payment. We prosecute criminals when they're presented us by the agency.
So the answer is no, unfortunately. No one's ever from your office said to stop payments until we can get the fraud under control. So to summarize, you both knew about fraud risk and payments continued. Our investigation has shown that whistleblowers who were alerted about the widespread fraud were ignored, sidelined, and even retaliated against. Only after federal authorities ultimately stepped in did you take any action. It's not this committee's responsibility to decide guilt or dole out punishment, but it's clear there was a massive failure of oversight and, quite frankly, a failure of leadership. One wonders whether either of you should bear some personal responsibility for the billions of dollars siphoned off by fraudsters under your noses in the state that you led. Again, this isn't for the committee to decide, but based on your answers today and apparent failure to take any responsibility, still the answer to that question has become abundantly clear. And now
Mr. Chair, I seek unanimous consent to enter items into the record.
All right, before I recognize Mr. Lynch, Ms. Randall, you have a UC?
Thank you. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a November 12th, 2025 article from ProPublica entitled How Trump Has Exploited Pardons and Clemency to Reward Allies and Supporters, which shows President Trump rewards those in his good graces. I also seek recognition to insert into the record a Washington Post article from December 19th, 2025 entitled Trump's Pardons Wipe Out Payments to Defrauded Victims, which shows that President Trump lets criminals and fraudsters walk free. And I also seek unanimous consent to enter into the record an article from May 29th, 2025 from ABC News titled Trump's Flurry of Pardons Includes Some to Campaign Contributors.
And Ms. Presley, we'll do one at a time. We'll go to Mr. Lynch, then I'll recognize you. Mr. Lynch from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Governor, good to see you, my friend. Attorney General Ellison, good to see you again. Reverend, thank you for your willingness to testify before the committee. I want to shift gears here a minute, and I want to focus on ICE. So I was recently asked to serve as the co-chair of the 5 for 26 soccer tournament. It's a global tournament, the largest sporting event in the world. And my home city of Boston has been asked to host a lot of the games. In Boston, we'll host teams from Morocco, Ghana, Bolivia, Iraq, Scotland, France, England, and Suriname. We'll also host over 3 million foreign national visitors who are coming into Boston for these tournaments. And we recently learned from the Trump administration that ICE will play a key role in the security operations during those games. So we've got all these people flying in, foreign nationals, a lot of different countries, South America and elsewhere. Governor, since you've had direct and relevant experience on dealing with the Metro surge and the security operations of ICE, I was interested in getting your thoughts and your observations and any recommendations you might have to help us with confronting our experience or what we expect to see during these games with ICE coming in as well as so many foreign visitors.
Well, as I think the world saw, and don't take my word for it, take professional law enforcement across Minnesota and across the country, the most unprofessional, aggressive force that I think you could imagine. And I was here in front of this committee and answered all your questions on June 12th. And I warned this committee what a masked group of folks turned loose in an American city could do. And if I'm not mistaken, I said someone could get killed doing this. And I just want to be very clear about this. When Tom Homan had to come in to clean up the mess of Secretary Noem and Greg Bovino, Secretary Holman himself acknowledged Minnesota follows the law, exactly as I told you in this committee. So my advice to you, Mr. Lynch, is to get very public, upfront commitments from these folks. While I disagree with Mr. Holman's views on many things, he's at least professional enough that he pulled the leash back and pulled these folks out of Minnesota after, again, misrepresenting the number of people they were detaining, misrepresenting before he got there exactly what Minnesota did. And I'm just going to name it on accountability. The Secretary of DHS, being chastised by Republican senators, added insult to injury to Minnesota, pouring salt in the wounds of the parents of Alex Preddy and Renee Good's family by not even apologizing or acknowledging. And if you want accountability, for the one of the times, as far as I know, the attorneys know better, we are not being included in the investigation. And the actions that were taken of a gentleman who was shot in the leg was the night that Kristi Noem called me a domestic terrorist and said that this gentleman was attacking federal agents. Well, now we know the story. They lied. They are now under investigation, they being the federal agents. So look, I'm with you. I want your help on fraud. Why would I not want money to go to the programs I care deeply about, feeding people, clothing people, housing people? But what ICE did disrupted everything that we were doing. It disrupted our federal partners. And it forced our law enforcement agencies, who have worked hard to gain the public trust, to have the public believe in them. So my advice to you is, and especially when the world's coming to see this, let Boston's finest lead. Let the people of Massachusetts lead. Let the 10th Amendment stand for something and allow us to be able to do this. The people of Minnesota will hold us accountable if they don't feel we're doing a good enough job. But to demonize and retribution against a state, in the words of the president, in the words of the vice president, have done nothing. So, Mr. Lynch, the world should be looking forward to coming, but I would get it up front, and I would make sure that Boston's police department are in the lead.
Thank you. Attorney General Ellison, we need coordination between law enforcement agencies. This is a big job. What are your views on that likelihood of cooperation from ICE?
Well, I hope you get the cooperation that you need. In Minnesota, we don't have a good record of cooperation, which is interesting because so many times in the past, we have had great cooperation between local federal enforcers and local state ones, and we've just worked seamlessly. Nowadays, that has all changed, and that's quite unfortunate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back. Thank you for the courtesy.
Gentleman yields back. Ms. Presley.
Thank you. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a February 2026 letter from 200 state lawmakers urging Congress to exercise its oversight authority and demand the administration immediately restore full child care funding that it had frozen for 5 states.
Without objection, it's ordered. Chair recognizes Dr. Fox from North Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank our witnesses for being here. Governor, you've reminded people that you were here last June. At that time, I reminded you that the Feeding Our Future scam made Minnesota ground zero for the largest COVID-19 fraud scheme in the nation. $250 million in federal taxpayer funds were taken out of the mouths of hungry children, and as the FBI noted, they were, quote, funneled in.
So we're listening in there to lawmakers grilling Minnesota Governor Tim Walz on Capitol Hill. We're going to share a QR code with you here in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen if you'd like to continue watching. Right now we are hearing from GOP leaders on Iran. Let's listen in.
Free. To protect it, our service members step into harm's way. And this weekend, 6 service members lost their lives.
This is what I've been waiting on, chat. I want to see what the Republicans going to say. And I really want to hear what the Democrats going to come out and say about this. That's what I really want to hear, chat, what the different sides are going to say about what's going on right now. So let's go on and keep it going, chat. Appreciate y'all for joining me. Appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Let's go.
Doing just that. I pray for all the men and women in uniform, for the families who are mourning, and the families whose loved ones still remain in combat. Your sacrifices for this nation will not be forgotten. While our brave men and women are risking their lives overseas to keep America safe, Democrats here are tearing down our defenses. Nearly every single Democrat voted to shut down the Department of Homeland Security. This wasn't a messaging mistake. It was a deliberate policy choice, and a very dangerous one at that. Between 2021 and 2024, the Biden administration's open borders allowed more than 380 individuals on the terrorist watch list to be apprehended attempting to cross our borders illegally. We also know that Biden released more than 700 Iranians into the interior of our country after crossing our border illegally. Now, that's just what we know. President Trump didn't waste 1 second cleaning up that mess. Within days of taking office, President Trump got to work deporting Iranian terrorists who had entered under Biden. They weren't overseas, they were here on American soil. The job isn't finished. The threat is real. And when the world's leading sponsor of terrorism is promising retaliation, this is the moment Democrats decide to shut down the very agency created after 9/11 to prevent another attack. Really? I ask them, whatever happened to never forget? Seems like perhaps they have forgotten. And what's their excuse? To shield illegal violent criminals? I mean, seriously, you can't make this up. Last week, a mother stabbed to death by an illegal alien with a criminal history for over 30 years. The violent criminal is who the Democrats are choosing to protect. In Louisville, a woman was kidnapped and assaulted by a man who should have never been in this country. The violent criminal is who the Democrats are choosing to protect. In North Carolina, a man was brutally tortured in his own home by 2 illegal aliens, one of whom had already been deported. And yes, I will say it again. Those are the violent criminals that Democrats choose to protect. Our service members, law enforcement officers, are doing their duty. They're protecting freedom, and they are protecting American citizens. It's time for Democrats to do their duty. This is no moment for partisan games. This is a moment for patriotism. Reopen DHS, and please reopen it now. With that, I yield to the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Brian Mast.
I'd start by speaking about our service members as well. Make sure you can hear me. I'd start by speaking about our fallen service members as well. Representative Zinke and myself, we were discussing this, literally heartbreaking to us, and I mean that. It's something that can bring us to tears as we think about TAPS and we think about that crack of a 21 gun salute, and you think about seeing our friends, spouses, families handed flags. You know, when you think about those things, it literally it brings you to tears when you think about old friends. And we have families that are about to go through that. It's a very serious thing for our country. But what our reflection is also about that is that we can't even count the number of friends that we have buried because of the hand of Iran. Year after year, there's an estimate that 1 in 6 service members that were killed from roughly 2003 to 13, 14, that window, killed by the hand of Iran. Those were our friends. And finally, and that's why the thanks goes to President Trump, finally, we have a commander-in-chief that's willing to say that that comes to an end. We're no longer going to face this imminent threat year after year after year. What does that imminent threat look like? What has it been beyond just the last 4 days? What has it been for the last 40 years or the last couple of years that President Trump decided he needed to act against it? Almost every member of Congress has voted to say that Iran is the largest state sponsor of terror because they're an imminent threat. Almost unanimous votes condemning their continuous support for proxies that are attacking America, our people, our merchant marine fleets, our Navy vessels. Almost unanimous votes condemning that. Almost unanimous votes calling their nuclear program a massive threat to the United States of America. Almost unanimous votes designating the Iran Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization. All of those votes, they weren't almost unanimous for no reason at all. They paint a clear picture of what everybody has concluded to be an imminent threat against the United States of America. Year in, year out, Iran has been an imminent threat against us because they have never faced an imminent response until President Trump. What did they face instead? They faced negotiations that told them how much uranium they could enrich, when they could reach a nuclear weapon instead of never. Literally received pallets of cash. That's the difference in the approach that's going on here. How imminent is this threat? 3 U.S. service members killed at Tower 22 a year and a half ago. Imminent threat. Strikes against our bases in Syria and Iraq all through 25. Imminent threat. Lost a fighter jet off one of our carriers in the Red Sea. Imminent threat. All the countless merchant marine vessels that were continually having drones fired at them while being protected by American ships. Imminent threat. And the list goes on of the ways that they were constantly attacking us. They wanted a fight every single day. They were looking for the opportunity to have it. I would tell you this, there's the semantics debate. I was just talking to CNN. We were having the semantics debate about battle or war or conflict or combat operations or whatever people are going to call this. I spent years in war. None of us want it. None of us want to see our service members put in harm's way. None of us want to see our service members killed. Iran has proven there is literally no other way to stop them from continually attacking us and all of those things that I listed unless we actually physically stop them. I don't think this fits the narrative of my Democrat colleagues, but it has to be said because it's the continual question. President Trump had the authority to conduct this very limited operation under Article 2 and the War Powers Resolution Act. He's working to get the job done. The limited scope of the operation, destroy every single piece of Iranian military hardware that has been used to reach out and touch the United States of America, our forces in the region, and our allies, or that could be used. Why? Because they have proven that they are an imminent threat and they will use it every single chance that they get. And finally, we have a president that says that comes to an end. No longer. I thank him for his dedication to this mission, and I thank him for the first time, although this is not the purpose of the mission set, for the first time in my lifetime, except for the killing of Qasem Soleimani, the deaths of all my brothers and sisters in arms that I mentioned, the aforementioned, are finally being avenged. And I thank God for that.
Thank you, Brian. This is personal to all of us, but we know it's especially personal to you and our warrior colleagues and all your families. For the past 47 years, the Ayatollah and the Iranian regime have terrorized Americans, the Middle East, and their own people. The regime began its tyrannical reign by taking 66 American hostages in 1979. More recently, Iran-backed Hamas terrorists killed 46 Americans and kidnapped at least 12 on October 7th of 2023. Terror attacks, assassination plots, drone strikes. More Americans have been killed by Iran than any other terrorist regime on earth. As long as the Islamic Republic of Iran stands enabled and empowered, the world will never know peace. Over the weekend, as Brian referenced, President Trump said enough is enough. Operation Epic Fury is a bold, decisive, and necessary act of strength against a belligerent and ruthless enemy of freedom. The battle with Iran has been raging for nearly half a century. President Trump is ending it once and for all. While the president displays leadership and strength on the world stage, Democrats here in Congress are doing the exact opposite. We are now in the third week of the Department of Homeland Security shutdown because Democrats would rather play political games than protect the American people. As we speak, there are members of the U.S. Coast Guard, a component of DHS, based in the Middle East. They've been there for a decade. Iran is actively targeting our forces in that region, and Democrats are standing in the way of these American heroes from receiving a paycheck while they risk their lives in defense of our nation. Why? Because they want to stop the president from enforcing our nation's immigration laws. It's sick, it's wrong, and it's dangerous. Now is the time for Democrats to quit grandstanding and start standing with the American people. And with that, I turn it over to our leader, Steve Scalise.
Thank you, Whip. We all pray for our men and women in uniform who are carrying out this critically important mission. We mourn the 6 who have lost their lives just in the last few days. But we also recognize the threat that Iran has posed for decades. And Chairman Mast laid it out incredibly well. Chairman Mast, who himself served our country so honorably, but understands that this is a threat that has declared war against America and carried out attack on top of attack on top of attack against our men and women in uniform. Hundreds of service members dead at the bloody hands of the Iranian regime, who is no longer with us, because President Trump finally took the action that many other presidents have contemplated, but ultimately decided to push off to somebody else. And President Trump is the leader, the commander-in-chief, who said, we are going to protect America against evil dictators who chant death to America. And by the way, when they're enriching uranium at weapons grade level, we ought to take them at their word, because that was their intention. For years and years, they were rushing towards a nuclear weapon. And even after the Operation Midnight Hammer decimated parts of their nuclear weapons program, they still went back and started trying to rebuild a nuclear weapons program, continued enriching uranium. They were never going to stop. And it was crystal clear during the negotiations, where Secretary of State Rubio did such an incredible job, as well as his team, trying to get a peaceful solution to this. Iran made it clear they had no intention of reaching any kind of peaceful solution. And ultimately, their intent was to kill Americans, as they have been for decades. And if you wonder what their resolve is, just look at the tens of thousands of their own people that they killed just in the last few months. And so we support President Trump in this important action. We pray for the safety of our troops who are carrying out this incredibly important mission, and our allies in the region. And you can see more countries getting pulled in from even around the Middle East region. But at the same time, we also recognize this is no time to have the Department of Homeland Security shut down and their ability to protect Americans limited. And who did that? Democrats in Congress, who weeks ago made a reckless decision to shut down the Department of Homeland Security. But now that we're at a heightened threat, and it's not just hypothetical threats. You could see what happened in Austin. A man with a Property of Allah shirt killing Americans. When we saw the open border of Joe Biden, for years letting in people who want to do us harm, people on the terrorist watch list, people from Iran that could do us harm, we need to be more vigilant than ever and have a fully functioning Department of Homeland Security with all the capabilities, cyber capabilities, which right now are dramatically limited because of Democrats' reckless and dangerous action to shut that department down. It is time for their dangerous games to end. Democrats need to vote with us tomorrow to reopen the Department of Homeland Security to make sure that our basic mission as members of Congress to keep Americans safe continues. And we're going to give them that opportunity. And now our Speaker, Mike Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Thank you, this leadership team, Chairman Mast. Our hearts and our prayers do go out to the families of our 6 fallen service members who've given their lives in defense of freedom and this country and America's interest. And I love my colleague and classmate Brian Mast, and he is a visible reminder of the service and the sacrifice that so many provide this country, and those who are brave enough to put on the uniform and put themselves in harm's way deserve our eternal gratitude, and they have it. Let's talk about Operation Epic Fury. The details, the latest of which were recounted this morning by the Secretary of War and the Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff. They've been remarkably transparent. As you know, last night, members of the House received another very thorough briefing on the operation. We had, of course, the Secretary of War there, Pete Hegseth, and Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Raisin Kane. You had Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Hold up, chat. I did not mean to stop it, but we just got Anna just sent 5 gifts out to the recipients of the channel. She just sent 5 gifts out. I appreciate you, Anna. Oh, Anna, you're an amazing person. Thank you for sending the gifts. It's highly appreciated. I really, really thank you for supporting the channel with 5 gifts. So it's going to be 5 great, amazing people that are going to receive a monthly gift to the Stock Sniper TV memberships. And that's really, really good, really, really good, because in that membership catalog, there's a lot of good information about investing into the stock market for beginners. There's a lot of good stuff over there. So congratulations to all 5 members, you know, that was gifted a membership by Anna. Oh, Anna. You know, inside of the memberships over there, it's not no nonsense over there. It's about investing, you know, and there's something over there that can get you started, you know, real simple and easy, that put your mind into the right place. And what we got to understand, chat, is politics. Who run the country? Who runs America? You know, as unsupervised came in, you know, but if you still here unsupervised, you got to realize that this stuff, politics, who's running the country, who we elect, who's in power, has a lot to do with the economy. It's all connected. The stock market, crypto, it's all connected. It's connected. It goes together. You know what I'm saying? That's what we got to realize. But I thank you, Anna. Oh, Anna, thank you so much for supporting the channel. We love and we appreciate you. You're an amazing person. So let's continue to see what the remarks are that Leader Johnson is telling us. And what we got to understand is that whatever happens, whatever decision these guys make, it affects our families, it affects our finances, it affects everything in life. Everything in our life is all connected, you know, and that's what you got to realize, unsupervised. You got to realize that, bro, assist, that it's all connected. It all goes together, you know, and that's what we got to understand.
You had John Ratcliffe, director of the CIA. We had legal representation from the Department of Justice. They answered questions forthrightly, and it was, I think, very helpful to a lot of the
Hey, what's up? Damn Media 79, appreciate you for joining.
Members, or everybody that participated. They have communicated at great length the details of the operation, both to Congress and to the American people. I think you can make an argument this is the most transparent administration in U.S. history. The Commander-in-Chief himself has been very forthright and very vocal about what's going on, answering questions and providing the insights that I think that people need. We're 4 days in so far on Operation Epic Fury. It's been limited, precise, and extremely lethal. It's been a remarkable success thus far, as recounted as recently as the last couple of hours by those leaders I mentioned. The early results are very encouraging. Iran's naval fleet is degraded. That was the first part of the mission, or at least the second part. The first part was the missiles. And its missile facilities in Iran and the stockpiles have severely depleted. Its former Ayatollah, the mastermind behind decades of terrorist violence, recounted by Chairman Mast and all of us over the last several days, he is now deceased. The administration has detailed its rationale behind the operation, and it bears repeating. The largest state sponsor of terrorism, Iran and its proxies, have killed more Americans than any other terrorist regime on earth. They are dedicated to it. They have been, and they say the quiet parts out loud. They wanted to wipe Israel off the face of the earth, and they'd like to take us out as well. We're the great Satan in their analogy and their misguided religion, and there was no way to appease them. In defiance of every American president since Jimmy Carter, the Iranian regime has pursued the means to acquire a nuclear weapon so that they could take that madness and that ideology to its full conclusion. Everyone, regardless of political affiliation, should be able to agree that that can never happen, should never happen. President Trump exhausted every diplomatic channel to this end. He tried. They've been over backwards. Since March of last year, he directed his administration to initiate 5 different rounds of negotiations with Iran's leaders. Most recently, and along the way, they've offered sanction relief, normalization, and most recently, they even offered nuclear fuel for life if Iran would cease its domestic nuclear program, and they were rebuffed. Iran said no. Why? Because we all know why they were enriching uranium, and it had nothing to do with medical devices and energy supply. It was to kill their enemies, and the U.S. was at the top of the list with Israel. Think about that. While Iran dragged its feet, its leaders pressed forward with its nuclear ambitions. They were stalling because they wanted to kill us. They continued to advance their conventional missile systems at a speed and a scale that greatly outpaced our regional allies' ability to respond. That is what made it imminent. In short, the situation was untenable. We had our personnel, troops, citizens, installations, and assets in harm's way. And through this operation, President Trump took decisive and defensive action to ensure the safety of our forces, our citizens, our allies, and our homeland. In my estimation, this course of action was necessary, lawful, and effective, and reversing it now would weaken America. Congress has a constitutional right to exercise its oversight authority, and we will. But we also have a duty and obligation not to undercut our own national security. One last note, there's a misconception that Operation Epic Fury is in any way a diversion from Republican demands for peace. It's the opposite. Peace is not secured through appeasement. And it's certainly not secured by airdropping billions of dollars on terrorist regimes, which is what previous Democrat administrations had done. Peace is secured through strength. That is the principle that our party has stood for my entire life, and on principle before that, articulated the idea of peace through strength. That's what this administration is demonstrating, and that is why America is the last great superpower on the planet, and all freedom-loving people around the world are grateful to God for that. Let's talk about DHS. It's been mentioned this morning. If we're being wise, now is the time to be vigilant at home and to ensure that all of our doors are locked, so to speak. Obviously, everyone understands that it's a heightened threat environment. Global tensions are high, threats are constantly evolving, and America's adversaries are watching for any sign of weakness on our part. We cannot show them that. And yet, all this is happening. We have Democrats running around here playing political games in Congress. It's infuriating. They've shut down the very agency that is responsible for securing the homeland. The Democrats have shut down the agency responsible for keeping Americans safe. Unbelievably, they've already instructed their members to block funding. They sent out a whip notice to tell House Democrats, to instruct them, to give them the order to vote down Homeland Security funding. That's a bipartisan consensus bill that had already been prepared by the House, It will be on the floor tomorrow for yet another vote, and you better watch that board, and everybody in America better watch that board. Anybody who votes to block funding for the homeland, it is shameful. I don't know how else to describe it. It speaks to a long record of Democrats' deliberate efforts to undermine America's safety and the essential operations of DHS. We all remember that under Joe Biden, Democrats opened wide our nation's border for 4 catastrophic years. They allowed hundreds on the terrorist watch list to cross our border illegally, and unwittingly they released 2.2 million known gotaways into the interior. We have no idea where so many of those people are. These are individuals who entered our country illegally. They were detected by law enforcement, and they evaded capture. We don't know where they are. We don't know what they're doing or what they're plotting. And we pray that we can find them and apprehend them. Keep your head on a swivel. CBP figures show that the number of Iranian nationals, entering our country illegally rose precipitously under Joe Biden's open borders policy. During that period, at least 1,500 Iranians crossed the U.S. border illegally, and over 700 were released into the country. Now, the 1,500 number is not an accurate assessment because we frankly have no idea, because they weren't even keeping track of so many of the people coming across who evaded capture and evaded notice because the border was wide open. So we don't know. We don't know how many dangerous people are here, how many Iranians who believed in that ideology of the Ayatollah who now is buried. Think about that. Over 1,500 Iranian nationals traveled multiple oceans to enter the U.S., not through legal ports of entry, but unlawfully at our border. It's just a small sample of the mess we inherited from Democrats with their radical ideology and the mess that President Trump and Republicans are working in earnest to clean up so we can save American lives and protect the homeland. And now we have, look, DHS is not just ICE and CBP, It's so many agencies responsible for keeping us safe. You're talking about the Coast Guard, you're talking about FEMA, our cybersecurity infrastructure, our counterterrorism coordination, all of that is at stake right now, and the Democrats are going to vote tomorrow not to fund those operations. Just think of that. Massive mission-critical functions, especially right now. And the military action in Iran makes it all more urgent and crucial to have a fully funded, fully staffed DHS across all its departments. They cannot argue otherwise. It's madness. As members of this body, our first and most basic duty is to ensure the safety of American citizens. Maybe that's why they sat through that line at the State of the Union. They're more interested in protecting illegal aliens. They see that as their first responsibility. There's no other way to explain this. If they ever want to correct the impression that their party prioritizes the welfare of illegal aliens over the welfare of American citizens, tomorrow would be a great place to start. But they, again, have sent out a whip notice instructing Democrats to vote down Homeland Security funding. I got to drop the mic right here and walk out of this room. That's all you need to know. But I'll take a few questions. Chad.
Thank you. You obviously don't think that the president needs an authorization from Congress for war. But do you think if this goes south after a while, and Democrats are going to have a vote tomorrow in the House, try to engineer a war powers vote tomorrow in the House, that could be a problem for Republicans this fall if there is public sentiment against the war down the road?
Look, we don't make political decisions at a time like this. We're making decisions that are necessary to keep American citizens and troops safe. That is the first responsibility. Unlike the Democrats, we don't sit around in a back room and decide what's politically expedient. We do what we must do to protect the homeland, and we let the chips fall where they may, and to protect our interests, to protect America First priorities and principles, and that's the people of this great country. And so I trust the American people. I trust that they will evaluate all these things, and they will understand that this administration did the right thing. I think they'll reward it politically, but if people get a bad taste in their mouth for what happened back here in the first part of the year in Iran, they just do. But we know, and history will record, we did the right thing. I think passage of a war powers resolution right now would be a terrible, dangerous idea for all the reasons I've just explained. It would empower our enemies, it would kneecap our own forces, and it would take the ability of the U.S. military and the commander-in-chief away from completing this critical mission to keep everybody safe. Iran has attacked 3 of our U.S. embassies in the last couple of days. Those are sovereign territories of the U.S. They have declared war on us. I don't believe in the semantics. We talked about the language this morning. We're not at war right now. We're 4 days in to a very specific clear mission, an operation, Operation Epic Fury, which has two components, as you know, that we have articulated over and over. The president has, the Commander of the Joint Chiefs, everybody has explained. 2 points. We had to take care of these ballistic missiles that they were producing at such a rapid pace that our regional allies could not keep up with. We had to ensure that they can't fire all those barrage of missiles at our people, our troops, our assets, our citizens in the region, and our installations. We're taking that out. We had to. It's a defensive operation. And secondly, we had to take their Navy down. That's effectively what, in layman's terms, that's what's happening right now. That will be done quickly. As they explained this morning, we're, I think, hours away probably from having full operational control over the skies over Iran, which means that this mission could be completed quickly. We expect that it will be. And then we will hope and pray that the Iranian people take this moment of opportunity, rise up, take their country back, and that freedom can flourish there for the first time in generations. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you so much. Some of your members, as you know, Congressman Davidson included, oppose this Iran operation, which the president himself has called a war. Are you confident that you have the votes to defeat the War Powers Resolution tomorrow?
Yes, and I had a discussion with Congressman Davidson this morning. He's a dear friend and brother of mine, and we, iron sharpens iron. We disagree on issues, and we have those discussions. He and I have done this a lot. He said this morning in front of all their House Republicans, he's not yet sure how he's going to vote on the War Powers Resolution. I believe we have the votes to put this down, and I certainly pray that's true. Because, for what all the reasons I said, it would put the country in serious harm, and it would certainly jeopardize the lives of our troops and all those who were involved in making these great sacrifices to defend us. We have to put this down. Money.
You said on Monday, talking about the start of this war, you said that Israel was determined to act in their own defense here with.
At Dame Media, appreciate you for the super chat. Political differences aside, Mr. Stock Sniper is a great guy. Thank you, Dame Media. Appreciate you for the super chat. You're an amazing person. Thank you. Thank you.
Without American support. You also said if Israel fired upon Iran, they would have immediately retaliated against us, personnel and assets. But the president said yesterday that it was him, it was the United States that might have forced Israel's hand. So why are you and the president not on the same page?
We're on the same page. I'm not at liberty to say publicly much of the classified information that I get in all these briefings, and that's always the delicate part of this, because if we say too much, then it reveals methods and sources, and it eliminates the ability of our extraordinary military and intelligence community to do what they do. The president has explained his analysis and his thought. Obviously, Israel is a close ally. They're in close communication. But everything I've said and everything he said is all true. They're not inconsistent in any way. Israel saw Iran as an existential threat. We should have seen them as well. But they were they were literally a neighbor. So if Iran said publicly, they all told us why. Okay, if they had the ability, they would wipe Israel off the face of the earth. That is why they were trying to enrich uranium. And even though we took out the nuclear facilities several months ago, they were still working on their nuclear ambition, even through the negotiations, as I said. And they were producing missiles at such a rapid pace that they were building up an arsenal that would have done untold damage to Israel and other neighbors there, right there in the Middle East. So Israel saw that as an existential threat. Bibi Netanyahu has explained all this publicly. He's stating the obvious. Everybody knew that. They saw a moment of opportunity. They had to act in their own survival, and we knew and understood, and this has been explained by the Secretary of State, the President, myself, and everybody else. The unclassified part is that if this kinetic activity began, then Iran was determined to hit us, our personnel, our assets, and all that. If the Commander-in-Chief and his administration and our officials waited for all those casualties to be exacted, they would have been drug up here and put through an inquest like you've never seen before, because the Democrats would have had a field day and said, if you had all that exquisite intelligence, why didn't you protect us? So it's a no-win situation for them. That's what the president and everyone has tried to explain. There are different ways to explain it. It's all the same truth. None of that has changed. It's entirely consistent. Last one. Yes, sir. Last, back row.
President Trump said this is expected to be a 4 to 5 week campaign.
campaign, but that he opened the door for potentially longer than that. We heard several of your members yesterday coming out of briefing. Some said they support the engagement now, but that that may change if this ends up being something that drags out. If we're sitting here 8 weeks, 10 weeks down the road, and this is still happening, would your position, at least on a war powers resolution, change?
But look, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. What we need to do right now is stand together as a country. We need to stand with our brave servicemen and women who are in harm's way, stand with the president on this critical mission to keep us safe, and we will do that. Congress will do its job. We will perform our oversight responsibilities, but the first duty, as I said earlier, is to keep the country safe, and that's what we're focused on right now. Thank you so much.
Supplemental funding. And those were House GOP leaders there giving remarks amid heightened.
All right, guys, man, we had a long live today, man, and it's a lot going on, chat. Whether you agree with it or not, it's a lot going on. So let's check out the votes, chat. I haven't looked at the votes in a while. The goal was to get 1,000 votes. Let's see, because I want to know what y'all think. I want to know. Let's see. Do you think Iran would have used nukes on America? Now, my thoughts on that, chat, this is my thoughts. They have been trying to come up with these nukes for a long time. I've been hearing that ever since I was a kid, like before the internet. They've been saying, that death to America and all these type of things, and that they've been working, trying to put together these weapons of mass destruction, so that's been the talk before the internet. That's what they've been saying. So as we talk about nuking America right now, that they don't have the capability of doing it, but this is about the future, right? This is about the future. The goal is for Iran to make nukes, to strike certain countries, and America is one of them. That's just what it is. They've been saying that for 40 years. Anybody that's older understands that, knows that already. They've been saying death to America before this internet. That's not nothing new. And with the development of AI and all of these things, the intelligence and the people up top, they're saying, we don't know if this is true or not. We can only go by what the leaders are saying. The leaders of the world, the leaders of America are saying that Iran and these countries that's been screaming death to America for 40 years are getting closer and closer to completing that goal of developing these nukes. So we got to understand, they're not talking about today, they're going to strike us, tomorrow, next week. They're talking about decades from now. We got to understand that. So the question is, do you think Iran would have used nukes on America? Might as well say 60% of the people says yes, 40% of the people says no. Bro, I thank everybody for voting. We got 1,500 votes, chat. 1,400 votes. And we appreciate y'all for voting. We appreciate y'all for joining the stream. We, the people, and the people that come on this channel, we all have the same thing in common. We all interested in the same things. And as a guy came in, unsupervised, came in and spoke how he feels, guess what? This is the freedom of speech channel. I know a couple of people wanted me to block him, but no, he has an opinion. And his opinion matters as well. Even if it goes against the host, his opinion matters, because guess what, chat? At the end of the day, he don't know me. He don't know that I'm really into this. I really been doing this off the internet, and I just brought it on the internet. And what also we have to understand is that what these world leaders do, who we elect. This is very important. Who we elect to lead the country. The leaders of the world has a lot to do with finance, has a lot to do with the economy. As Iran was struck by America and Israel, gas prices, I know, went up all over America. Gas prices went up where I'm at. So I know gas prices went up everywhere else. So the decisions that they make, it affects your 401k plan. It affects your everyday life, right? It affects the economy. It affects the stock market. It affects crypto. All that stuff goes hand in hand. They can say and do one thing, and it could crash the whole stock market, chat. That's what we gotta realize, unsupervised. And as me being a day trader, as me being in the stock market, I have to pay close attention to these things. You know, because it goes hand in hand. You know, and we have to understand that. And that's why I'm here to put those things on your mind, because a lot of people don't understand it. And that's why we are here. It's a lot of people in the chat that understands this, you know, because it's we the people. No matter what side you own, we all have the same thing in common on this channel. And we love and we appreciate y'all. So with that being said, chat, we got 156 people in the building. I thank all y'all for joining me. It's been a long live. I think I'm gonna end it right here. That's what I'm going to do. And it's all good, chat. I love and I appreciate y'all. I thank y'all for rocking with me. Everybody that's been subscribing to the channel, I love and I appreciate y'all. We're getting close to 10K subs. We at, let's see. We got 285 more subs to get to the goal of 10K. The goal was to get to 10K in February. We didn't reach that goal, but it's all good. We will reach this goal by next week. So 3 things are going to happen, chat. 3 things. Number 1, once we get over 10K, around 10,050, 10,100. Number 1, we're doing a Cash App giveaway. Number 2, we're changing the name of the channel. I will still be the host, the Stock Sniper, but we are changing the name of the channel. A lot of y'all already know what the name change is. I say it all the time. And number 3, we're going to start bringing people up. People that we're not going to argue. We're going to have great adult conversations about what we think about what's going on in the world. It can health, wealth, the stock market, crypto, sports, what's going on in the world. Basically, we're going to discuss what we all have in common. You know, and a lot of people like my exercise videos, my walk downs. A lot of people like when we're talking about sports, you know, and that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to bring up 5, 6 people, however many people I can bring up. And we're going to have great conversations. That's the goal once we get over 10K. And we almost there, Chad. We almost there. You know? And I love and I appreciate y'all, all the supporters of the channel, everybody that comes and give their opinions. I love and I appreciate y'all. Everybody that come in and give us your stock picks. I love and I appreciate y'all. Everybody that come rock with me when I'm working out and give me pointers. I love and I appreciate y'all. Everybody that come rock with me when we watching sports. I love and I appreciate y'all. It just so happened I'm not really into baseball. So that's why I'm not reacting to the baseball games. But March Madness is here. So we're going to crank it up. You know what I'm saying? So I love and I appreciate y'all, you know, because that's what it's about on YouTube, connecting with like-minded people. It's just so that what I'm interested in goes right with what everybody else is interested in. And that's what it's all about, connecting, learning, teaching, because it's we the people. And that's what it's all about. And guess what? This is the Freedom of Speech channel. And I am your host, the one and only Stock Sniper. So with that being said, I love and I appreciate y'all, chat. Thank y'all for tuning in. We've been live for 2 hours. Great show, great show. We've learned and seen a whole lot of things. I hope y'all, you know, took it in like I did. And that's all I got to say about that. So with that being said, this is the one and only Stock Sniper. Earn, spend less, and invest. And yes, your education on what's going on around the world is an investment. Your health is an investment. Connecting with like-minded people to benefit you and your family, to help grow and educate one another, is an investment. So with that being said, I love and I appreciate y'all. To the next one, which will be the walk down at 2 o'clock. If you don't know what the walk down is, I run 3 miles a day. I walk another 1.25 miles or more, and I go live, and it's a show. It's called The Walk Down. We in season 3, episode 193, which is today. I hope you come join me. Come connect with me. Come cheer me on my exercise mission. So with that being said, I love and I appreciate y'all, chat. To the next one, I'm out. I love y'all, chat.